Hello, dear aspirants. Welcome to English Literature class for UGC-NET SLET Professors Lecturers Exam. Hope you are all doing well. Your study is well in progress. Today, we will discuss in detail M.H. Abrams' A Handbook of Literary Terms. Hope you are well known with this book. So, why I have chosen this book? So, simplification of literature. So, I studied in detail this book. I divided this book in different sections. Actually, the book is printed in alphabetical order. So, here I have done it very simplified. So, before that, I would like to inform you my aims regarding this book. So, this glossary book is the Bible of English literature. So most of the professors consider this book is Bible. Why? Because for literature students and literary lovers, most of the concepts regarding literature have been discussed and tried to convey the idea of literature. That's why this book is known as the Bible of English literature. Second one, to understand literature systematically. So systematically means so poetry, drama, prose, fiction. This is called systematic. So in this book, they have given all or most of the concepts regarding all these sections which are prescribed in the syllabus of UGC NET SLET. That's why it is called Bible of English literature. Going to the point number three, or third aim, to comprehend background or different ages. So regarding this one, in the coming time, I'm going to bring a lecture series on periods of English literature. So this topic is briefly given in this book. I would like to make it in large that becomes very easy to understand. And third aim is to learn literary movements and groups. So this is very important concept in UGC, NET and SLET and all recruitments on the basis of literature. So literary movements are clearly described and discussed in this book. Those literary movements I have here tried to convey you in simple manner. So finally, to analyze and sensitize literature. For literature students, we have to understand what is literature. If you don't know the literature meaning, that how can you understand the other things in the literature? That's why this book will make you to understand literature and sensitize you. Finally, the aim of this video lecture is simplification of M.H. Abrams' literary terms. So let us see one by one. So before that, I have classified this book into different sections, different 7 sections. So poetry, drama, fiction. Hope you know these things. I have tried to classify literary terms of this book accordingly. UGC, NET, SLET, assistant professor recruitment, and teachers lecturers recruitment. So in any syllabus you go, they divide the syllabus according to these three terms. From that point of view, I have tried to this book classify into these three terms. Moreover, this book, Abraham's book, given in dictionary manner, alphabetical manner. But in this video, I have tried to collect, classify all those terms accordingly: poetry, drama, fiction, literary movements and groups, literary theory, criticism, modern linguistics, and some independent literary terms. In this video, I have just mentioned how those terms are very important. So let's discuss all those terms. The very first heading is poetry and related terms. So the very first term is allegory. Here, allegorical image, fable, apologue, beast fable, trickster, parable, exemplum, proverbs. Dear aspirants, I would like to inform you that if you want these points or if you want to make these terms, so you can pause the video and you can write down in your note. So next one is alliteration. Here alliterative meter, consonants, assonance. Next ballad. Here popular ballad, folk ballad, traditional ballad, and ballad stanza, incremental, repetition, broadside ballad, and literary ballad. Next, bard. Bard means poet. Baroque, blank verse paragraphs. Hope you know this one. So Milton's Paradise Lost, most of the parts of the poetry are written in verse paragraphs. So verse paragraphs is very important. So regarding this concept, I mean most of the concepts I am going to bring each video on these topics. And next, burlesque. Here varieties of burlesque like high, parody, mock epic. Mock epic is well known by Pope, mock heroic, low, hubristic poem, travesty, lampoon, caricature. All these terms are associated with burlesque. Next, carpe diem theme. This term is associated with metaphysical poetry. Next, chivalric romance or medieval romance. Here it is ancient time novel. We will discuss this one. And romance, quest, and metrical romance. Next, conceit, nothing but concept or image. Here, Petrarchian conceit and metaphysical conceit. Regarding this, we will bring a detailed video on this one. Concrete, abstract, concrete poetry, pattern poems, shaped verse, confessional poetry. So this is a very dominant concept, has been asking in the question of UGC-NET, SLED, and assistant professor exams. So confessional poetry is a hot topic in the syllabus. So on this one, I will bring a simple video that will be very helpful for you. Next, courtly love, troubadours, doggerel, here skeltonic, hubristic verse, dramatic, lyric. Dear aspirants, you can pause here and note down these terms. Next, dream vision and dream allegory. It is very dominant term in ancient and medieval time. Chaucer and most of his contemporaries have written in this format. Elegy, elegiac meter, dirge, trandoy, monody, pastoral elegy. This genre was dominant in of the 18th century, mid 18th century. Epic, heroic poem. Here the devices are used: machinery, grand style, argument, epic question, in media res, bourgeois epic, epic similes, Homeric similes. All these terms, epic elements, are features what we call you can find in John Milton's Paradise Lost. All these features you can find in this classic poem or epic. Going to next, epithalamion, associated with Spenser, fabula, folklore, free verse, or verse libre, new formalism. This movement associated with Vers libre. Don't confuse with formalist movement. Haiku or hokku, that is Japanese poetic form. Heroic couplet. Here two type: closed couplet, open couplet. Hymn or hymen. Spirituals are here very important. Lay. Here Breton lay is very important. Light verse. Here are different terms. Verse the society or society verse. Nonsense verse. Limerick. Lyric. Personal lyrics. Metaphysical poets. This is a hot issue or topic in any syllabus if you take. On this video, I'm going to a detailed video on this topic. Occasional poems. Ode. Here are the different terms associated with ode. So please note down: stroke, anti-stroke, epode, regular or pindaric ode. Irregular ode is also known as Cowleyan ode, Abraham Cowley. Encomiastic, Horatian ode, homostrophic ode. Next, oral poetry. This is very ancient form of poetry. Please remember. Note and pastoral. Here, ideal, eclogue, bucolic poetry, Arcadia. So these are all terms associated with pastoral poetry. This is a very important feature during the Renaissance literature. Performance poetry. What does it mean by performance poetry? Let's see. Poetry happenings, poetry slam, rap, hip hop, freestyling, battle rapping, gangster rap. So poetry is read as well as performed on the stage. That's called performance poetry. Next, prose poems. So please remember Geetanjali by Tagore is written in the form of prose poems. A refrain, a rhyme. So this is the central topic in poetry section. Let's see what are the forms of rhyme. End rhyme, internal rhyme, masculine rhyme, feminine rhyme, double rhyme, triple rhyme, forced rhyme, perfect rhyme, I rhyme, imperfect rhyme, partial rhyme, or approximate, slant, para rhyme, and finally rhyme rich. So these are the different forms of rhyming system in literature. Next very important thing is sonnet. Here different types of sonnets. The first one is Italian or Petrarchan sonnet. Here structure octave and sestet. Once again, Italian sonnet, also known as Petrarchan sonnet. This one is divided into octave 8 lines, sestet 6 lines, plus totally 14 lines poem. Okay, 14 lines poem. Next, English sonnet or Shakespearean sonnet, Spenserian sonnet. So these are the three important types of sonnets in English we have. Then sonnet sequences or sonnet sequel is a collection of sonnets which has interlinked to each other, is known as sonnet sequence or sonnet sequel. Stanza. So couplet, octosyllabic couplet, decasyllabic, tercet, triplet, terza quatrain, common measure, heroic quatrain, rhyme royal, octave rhyme, Spenserian stanza, 9-line stanza. Please remember villanelle, sestina, envoi, canto. So these are the important terms associated with stanza. One time the question was asked, villanelle in India is associated with poetry, prose, novel, and drama? The answer will be Villa Nile. So it is associated with poetry section. Next, topographical poetry. So the word itself describes it regards to particular region or the structure or situation. So let's see what are the important terms associated with topographical poetry. Local poetry, prospect poems, descriptive, meditative, lyric, country love poems. These are all terms associated with topographical poetry. Let's moving on the second section in this series, drama. Now whatever we have discussed, all those terms associated with poetry sections. So please remember that MH Abraham book has in dictionary manner. So I tried to simplify in this video accordingly sections that are prescribed in UGC-NET SLET exam that aspirants can easily understand and catch the terms according to the syllabus. Now the section 2, drama. Let's see what are the important terms in this section. The first one is act and scene. Here the term proscenium arc is very important. Next, chorus is a very prominent device in ancient and medieval drama. Here choral character is very important. Next, chronicle plays or historical plays or history plays. Comedy. So let's see what are the important terms and types in comedy. Romantic comedy, satiric comedy, comedy of manners, new comedy, old comedy, restoration comedy, farce, high comedy, low comedy, comedy of humors, comedy of humorous characters. So all these are the terms associated with only comedy. Under this genre, we have different plays and dramas. For example, comedy of manners, the way of the world, is an example to comedy of manners. So like that, all these terms have different examples we will discuss in our coming videos. Next, comic relief, atmosphere in drama, commedia dell'arte, especially scenario. Confident is a character, please remember. Deus ex machina is a magical element in drama. Drama, so it is also known as play. Please remember, don't get be confused. Drama also known as play. Poetic drama and closest drama. Dramatic monologue, here monologue, dramatic lyric, and epic theater. Bertolt Brecht associated with this term epic theater. Bertolt Brecht BB. Bertolt Brecht epic theater. Heroic drama, also heroic tragedy. Melodrama, play. In play, we have all this term. Dear aspirants, please remember in UGC-NET SLET exam and especially assistant professor exam Karnataka, they have clearly mentioned in the syllabus the development of drama from miracle, morality, interlude, mystery, tropes, voice. But these four are the early subgenres of drama. So there are so many plays written under these forms. So all these are very important. So on this way topics I will bring in detail video. Next, documentary drama, pantomime, a dumb show, problem play. This play is also known as discussion play. This is a very dominant genre in modern drama. Setting. Let's see what are the terms associated with setting. Opsis, decor, properties of the setting or the drama, mise in scene. So these are the features of setting in drama. Then soliloquy and aside. Definitely there is difference between soliloquy and aside. We will discuss in this later videos. Stock characters. What are the stock characters? What are the terms associated with stock characters? Alezon, Iron, Bomolkos, Egroikos, Gel, Miles Glorious. So these are terms associated with stock characters. You should remember all these terms. In exam, they will ask you the alezan is associated with such type of characters. Answer will be stock characters. Next, stock situations. Okay. Then very central point in drama, that is tragedy. Aristotle in his poetics talk about tragedy. So let's see what are the terms are associated with tragedy. The very first one is catharsis, tragic hero, hamartia, tragic flaw. Once again, please remember catharsis, tragic hero, hamartia, tragic flaw. These are all terms Aristotle in his poetics discussed in detail. So next one, hubris, medieval tragedies, Senecan tragedy. So this is very dominant genre during the English Renaissance. This drama highly influenced in English drama of 16th century. Revenge tragedy, tragedy of blood, bourgeois or domestic tragedy. So revenge tragedy also very important from exam point of view. So please remember and note down all these terms. This will be very helpful in your exam to understand the concept tragedy. Next, tragic comedy. Three unities are rules of tragedy, rules of drama. So this is very important. Verisimilitude. This concept we will discuss in our separate video. Next, wit, humor, comic. These are all elements in drama, especially comedy. So there is false wit and repartee. So dear aspirants, these are all terms associated with drama. You should note down and remember. If you have any suggestion, please write in comment section. Next, going to the next section, novel or fiction section. Let's see what are the important terms. And one thing, don't be confused, novel with fiction. Both are the same term. It is a very modern term, fiction. Let's see what are the terms associated with novel. Academic novel as well as university or campus novel. These are terms for the same term. Next, adjunct novel. Let's see other things. Anti-hero, character and characterization. Here character, dialogue, action, motivation, flat character, type, round character, characterizing, showing, telling. Next, fiction. Here, what are the different terms associated with fiction? Crime fiction, detective story, murder, mystery, mystery novel, whodunits, police novel, hard-boiled detective story, thriller, gothic novel, gothic romance, graphic narrative, graphic novel, sequential art. These are all features and elements associated with only fiction. Next, local color. So it is like a topographical poetry. Let's say novel. So let's see what are the important terms associated with novel. Roman, novella, picaresque narrative, episodic, novel of incident, novel of character, epistolary novel, realistic novel, novel of manners, prose romance, Bildungsroman, Irregular, Crystal Roman, social novel, sociological novel, proletarian novel, historical novel. Next, documentary fiction, non-fictional novel, literature of fact, documentary drama, original novel, invalided novel, anti-novel, novum Roman, new novel, magic realism. This is very important term in the part of novel section. So Salman Rushdie associated with magic realism. metafiction, surfiction, fabulation, novel of sensibility. Next, plot or mythos. So this term in poetics Aristotle discussed. Protagonist or hero or heroine. Antagonist is known as villain. Conflict, foil is really in drama. Intrigue, suspense, surprise. Next, unity of action. So let's see what are the terms associated with this. Incidents, double plot, polyphonic. So please remember this term, polyphonic. So every literature has beginning, middle, end, and exposition or characterization. Fritage pyramid. Please remember Fritax pyramid. Rising action or complication. Climax, crisis, falling action, catastrophe, denouement, resolution, reversal. Peripety, discovery or anagnosis. Please remember discovery or anagnosis. This is part of tragedy. Short story. Here anecdote, tale, novelette, novelle, frame story, magazines. Socialist realism. Next, point of view, especially narrators. We see here different types of narrator. First point of view narrator, second point of view narrator, third point of view narrators. We can see in the fiction there are different types of narrators. And omniscient point of view narrator, intrusive narrator, authoritative narrator, unintrusive narrator, impersonal or objective narrator, focus of narration, focus of character, limited point of view, self conscious narrator, self reflexive novel, fallible or unreliable narrator. We cannot trust the narrator, that is known as unreliable narrator. These are all the narrators we can find in different fictions or novels. So we will discuss all these terms in our separate video. Now, fantastic literature, Roman Eclipse, romance novel, Harlequin romances, science fiction, fantasy, cyberpunk, short story, and very important, stream of consciousness. This is a very modern innovation in novel. Introspection, interior monologue. Next, motif and theme are the central point in the work. Ubisund motif, about, tonos, leitmotif, theme. Next, narrative and narratology. Here, narrative, story, fabulo, susnet. So, all these terms what we have discussed, all those related to novel or fiction. Now moving to a very important topic, literary movements and groups which are prescribed and discussed in amateur Brahms book. Let's see one by one. Absurd literature movement. Look at absurd literary movement. Here, theater of the absurd, black comedy and black humor associated with this term. On this topic, I will discuss in a separate lecture series. Next, aesthetic ideology. It is also a movement. Aesthetics, aesthetic movement, art for art's sake. Many a time the question has been asked in UGC-NET and other literature competitive exams. Beat writers, black arts movements, black aesthetic, Bloomsbury group. So this topic is very important in exam. Celtic revival, Irish literary renaissance. It is modern renaissance in Iran. Gaelic revival, Celtic twilight. Here, like Yeats, W.B. Yeats, Hinge, and many other poets associated with this movement. We will discuss this in separate video. Decadence or find the Psycholo, deism, didactic literature, Georgics, propagandist literature, enlightenment, expressionism, graveyard poets. So remember, here elegies term dominate. So this one we will discuss in a separate video. Great chain of being. It is very philosophical term, philosophical optimism, grotesque, and Harlem Renaissance. Next, humanism. Here, humanist, new humanism, Christian humanism, humanities, essentialism, identity theorist, identity politics. These are all associated with background, Renaissance or 16th century in England. Next, human rights literature, idealism, imagism. So, imagism is a very modern literary movement, especially in poetry. Mask, anti-mask, neoclassic, and romantic. So let's see what are the terms. So classic, natural, genius, rules of poetry. This is very important. Here we have contrast between neoclassical and romantic poetry and manifesto. Okay. Next, metaphysical poets. So this is a very important concept. A group of poets of 17th century, especially John Donne, is the father of metaphysical poetry. So we will bring a separate video on this topic. Pre-Raphaelites, Renaissance. Look at the background. Renaissance, it is especially in England, 16th century. Early modern day, it is known as modern literature. Renaissance is known as modern age in English literature. Printing, courtesy books, Renaissance man, sprezzatura, Reformation, Ptolemaic, Copernican theory. How these theories influenced on literature, especially John Milton has referenced all these terms in his Paradise Lost. Please remember. New philosophy, new science, surrealism, dadaism. These are the movements in modern literature, especially painting, which was influenced on literature. We will discuss it, this one in also in our separate lecture series. Symbolist movement, correspondences, symbolism, and transcendentalism. Please remember, last time this topic was asked in assistant professor exam, so it is associated with American literature. We will discuss this topic in our separate video lecture series. Next, Victorianism. Features of that time is known as Victorianism, positivism, primitivism, and progress. Here, cultural primitivism, noble savage, chronological primitivism, and progress. Realism, naturalism. So all these terms what we have discussed is all about our movements in literature, especially how they shaped literature in our different ages of literature, especially in England. So next going to literary theory and criticism. This is very interesting topic to all literature lovers. So we must know literary theory and criticism. Let's see what are the important terms are discussed in M.H. Abrams' literary handbook. Let's see. The very first is affective fallacy, alienation effect, or estrangement effect, distancing effect. This is a term associated with Bertolt Brecht. So I will bring a separate video on this concept. We will discuss there in detail. Illusion, ambiguity. Here it means multiple meaning, plural significations, portmanteau word, and overreading. These are all terms associated with criticism we use when we analyze any literary work. At the time we use all these terms, whether we are going to analyze poetry or drama or fiction. At the time we use all these terms in a different context. Let's see. Antithesis, archetypal criticism, ambiguity, once again, multiple meaning, plurisignation, portmanteau word or a new word, over reading. Here we have author, authorship, bathos, anticlimax. Anticlimax is very important, especially in the context of drama. Climax, that is end. Bombast, boutlerize. So these are very important terms. Canon of literature or principles of literature, apocrypha, literary canon, multicultural, cliché, and poetsters. Here, cognitive literary studies, we know that in theory, cognitive poetics, conceptual, metaphor. Connotation, denotations. So, connotation, internal meaning of work, denotation is external or surface level meaning. Convention, that is theater in the round, it is a very important term in the time of Renaissance or Shakespearean dramas. Invention, originality. And in criticism, we see different types of criticism. So, like theoretical criticism, practical criticism, applied criticism, impressionistic criticism, judicial criticism, mimetic criticism, pragmatic criticism, expressive criticism, and finally objective criticism. Dear aspirants, please remember in assistant professor exam, they have clearly mentioned introduction to criticism and types. So all these types of criticism you must to study in detail. For that reason, I will bring it will make you very helpful all those videos. Critic or opinion from literature point of view. That is called critic. Cultural studies, Darwinian literary studies, and very important postmodern theory, that is deconstruction by Derrida. Remember deconstruction associated with Jacques Derrida. He is French philosopher. Basically, he was a philosopher, not critic. Here terms associated with this movement, this literary theory movement: logocentric, phonocentric, presence, trace. This one asked in UGC-NET exam. Difference. Look at the word difference. Difference. Transcendental signifies disseminated. Binary opposition. Aphoria. Whatever I made here, I highlight these terms are asked in NET exam. So please remember all these terms are very important from UGC NET SLET exam point of view as well as assistant professor and lecturer exam. Decorum, here dialogic criticism, monologic, dialogic form, Cornwallesque. So important term, Cornwallesque. I will ask you who was invented this term. So let me to know answer in comment section. Discourse analysis, disassociation of sensibility. So let me to know who invented this term, disassociation of sensibility. Distance involvement. Here aesthetic distance, especially Kant and many other philosophers discussed this topic in literature. Eco-criticism. So criticism about our environment is called as eco-criticism. Let's see. Environmental criticism, green studies, nature writing, anthropocentric, egocentrism, ecofeminism. Please remember ecofeminism. Nowadays this question has been in UGC-NET exam. Ecofeminism, wilderness romance, empathy, sympathy, antipathy, epigram, apothegm, aphorism. So please remember this term aphorism. Epiphany, epithet, Homeric, especially Homer used in his works epithet that is known Homeric epithets. Euphemism, euphemism, euphony, cacophony, dissonance. These are all terms associated with sound system or linguistic in poetry. Please remember. Euphemism. Here don't get be confused. Euphemism and euphemism are the different concepts. And these two topics I will discuss in our separate video. Euphemism, sententious, fancy, and imaginations. Here again I will ask you a question. I expect answer from you in comment section. Who used these terms in his literary criticism, fancy and imagination? Let me know the answer in comment section. In a PU lecturer and assistant professor exam, they have asked a direct question from this part, fancy and imagination. Feminist criticism. This is well resolved question in any exam. Feminism. Let's see. Feminist, patriarchal, gender, canon criticism, phagocentric, literature feminine, women's studies. These are the terms associated with feminist criticism. Fiction, truth. Here we have emotive language and zero statement. Please remember zero statements and thesis. These are all terms associated with fiction or novel is nothing but non-truth and truth. These are terms we have to define. Foreshadowing, looking forward in future, especially in drama it is used when we analyze a drama from literature point of view and criticism point of view, we will apply this term foreshadowing. Let's see other things in literary criticism. Form and structure. Here terms like mechanic form, organic form, organicist, imitative form, expressive form, and the school associated with form and structure is Chicago School. They ask you question. Chicago School is associated with form and structure. And who are the members of this Chicago School and their intention of the Chicago School. Then very important literature movement or literary theory is that formalism, that is Russian formalism, Prague School of Linguistic Circle, literariness. They use the term literariness when they analyze, when they apply the theory to literature, they use the term literariness and foregrounding. E strange defamiliarize. Hope you know that Bertolt with this term. We will discuss this term in detail. And new formalism. New formalism. Moving to gender criticism. Let's say the term associated with gender criticism. Gender studies, men's studies. Look at here, not women's study, men's studies also very important. Genre, there are different kinds, and family resemblance. So means forms of literature like poetry, drama, fiction, and many more is called family. Imitation or mimesis. This is a very beginning or initial term in literary theory and criticism, started from Plato, Aristotle, and many more. So it is a central in literary theory, especially ancient and medieval literature. Influence on poetry, like anxiety of influence, anti-theatrical criticism. So who invented this term? Please remember and let me know in comment section. Intentional fallacy. Both terms are associated with the same critic. Interpretation or explanation or evaluation of literature is known as interpretation. Here hermeneutics. What is hermeneutics? Exegesis, hermeneutic circle, intention, significance, verbal meaning, existential philosophy. This is very modern philosophy. Next, interpretation. Here, typological, allegorical, different types are there. Anti-types, fourfold. Eschatology. What is eschatology? Let me know in comment section what is eschatology. Once it was asked in PU lecturer exams. Eschatology. Iconography. Let's moving on next. Ivory tower, Germite, malapropism, and solipsism. Malapropism. This has been a question in many exams. Malapropism is a term associated with comedy, so especially in the restoration drama. So we will discuss in detail in our lecture series. Please do study on this topic. Next, Marxist criticism. Here, ideology reflect Frankfurt School of Marxism interpellates. Look at the term interpellates. Hegemony. These terms are very important for UGC-NET exam point of view. And post-Marxist criticism. Next, modernism and postmodernism. Please remember, modernism and postmodernism is a modern literary theory movements. Here, modernist, high modernist, automatic writing. This was a topic in UGC NET exam. It may ask at any time applying to any literary theory. Automatic writing. Then avant-garde or innovation literature. This one also associated with this modernism or postmodern theory. Next, negative capability. This term is associated with John Keats. Please remember John Keats. New criticism. So let's see what are the terms associated with new criticism. Explication or close reading. So I will discuss this topic in detail in our next video. What is close reading, especially applying to poetry. Please remember this moment. This literary movement discussed in detail with poetry only. Explication, the text, contextual criticism. New historicism. So what is this movement? What are the terms associated with this one? Thick description, representation, cultural constructs, appropriate political readings, cultural poetics, subversion, containment dialectic, cultural materialism. These are terms associated with new historicism. You just need to remember all these terms associated with new historicism. Next, objective criticism, subjective criticism. Next, objective correlative. So this is a question in most of the exam. The term associated with which critique? I want answer in comment section. Please do comment in comment section. Next, pathetic fallacy. Here, persona. In persona, we have tone, voice, dramatic, implied editor, implied author. Look at editor and author. Next, phenomenological criticism. Here, Lebenswelt, intentional, epoch, concretize, Geneva School, cogito, critics of consciousness. All these terms associated with phenomenological criticism. Next, poetic diction. Look at the poetic diction means here the writing of poetry in the language. That's called poetic diction. There are different views by the different writers of poetry. Let's see, neoclassical poetry. Here, periphrasis, the word associated with neoclassic, periphrasis. Poetic justice are the license to poetry, especially to the ability and the power of poet who can write the poetry. That's called poetic justice. Poetic license. Please don't get me confused with poetic justice and poetic license. Here, anachronism. The word anachronism. Get the meaning of anachronism. Let me know in the comment section. Post-colonial studies. So it is rapidly growing literary theory concept, post-colonial studies. Here, Orientalism, hybridization, subaltern terms are major terms associated with post-colonial studies. Let me know who are the inventor or who have been used by these terms: Orientalis, hybridization, subaltern. Next, post-structuralism. This term is associated with again deconstruction. Anti-foundationalism, theory, subject, depth of the author, discourse, subtext, hermeneutics of suspension, relativism, new pragmatism. So these terms are associated with post-structuralism. Next, psychological and psychoanalytical criticism. This term in literary theory and criticism associated with Dr. Sigmund Freud and other his contemporaries and later psychoanalytics. Let's see what are the terms associated with this literary theory. Manifest, content, latent content, sublimate, id, superego, ego. These terms are associated with Dr. Sigmund Freud. Id, superego, ego. Oedipus complex, psychobiography. Please remember this one: psychobiography, Jungian criticism, collective unconsciousness. These are all terms associated with Dr. Sigmund Freud and some other Jungian and Lacanian literary criticism. He used imaginary different steps like imaginary, symbolic, mirror stage. Moving to next, purple patch. Remember this word purple patch. What is purple patch? Let me know in the comment section. Queer theory, lesbian studies, gay studies, and queer reading. It is recently in news, so we have to study this in detail. Reader response. How reader responses to literary work. Here different types of reader like implied reader, affective stylistic reader. And there is a term interpretative communities. Who use this term? Interpretative communities. Next, reception theory like reception aesthetic and reception history. So this is very important in reader response criticism. Next, speech act theory. So here speech acts, illusionary, constructive, constitutives, performatives, perlocutionary, performative. These are the terms associated with speech act theory. You can pause here, you can note down all these terms. Stock response, structuralist criticism. Please remember structuralist criticism talks about structures. So structuralism, it is known as structuralism. And stylistics. This is style of language you use in literature. So that is also associated with linguistics. Stylometry. So sublime or hyper creation, sublime, beautiful creation, tension, touchstone theory associated with Matthew Arnold, text, writing, écriture, resemblance, naturalization, recuperation, intertextuality. These are the terms associated with all this text and writing. Finally, textual criticism. Look at this, friends. Textual text is very important here, like copy text, social theory of textual criticism, multiple authorship and versions. This is a very disputed during the Renaissance time, authorship and versions. So there are different versions of Shakespeare's play earlier. That's why this concept is very important in literary theory and criticism. We have to study this topic with authorship and versions. Okay, moving on the very next. So what we have discussed up to here, all those are the terms associated with literary theory and criticism. Next, moving on, rhetoric and prosody. Let's see what are the terms associated with rhetoric and prosody. Rhetorical criticism, rhetorical figures, anaphora, anastrophe, hyperbation, apostrophe, invocation, chiasmus, paralepsis, rhetorical question, and zeugma. These are all the questions from rhetorical figures, especially associated in poetry. Please remember, in poetry. Archaism. Look at the term archaism. Next, cognitive rhetoric, figurative language. So here, one question must be in UGC-NTA. Figurative language. Figures of thoughts, tropes, literal meaning, figures of speech, or rhetorical figure or schemes. What are the figures of speech? Simile, metaphor, tenor, vehicle, implicit metaphor, grounds, mixed metaphor, dead metaphor. Metonym. So here metonym and synecdoche are different two terms. So we have to study this one, and I will bring all my videos on metonym and synecdoche and other terms. Personification, prosopopia, kenning, hyperbole, and understatement. Meiosis, litotes, imagery, image clusters. A group of images is known as image clusters. And very important figure of speech is irony. Here different types of ironies: verbal irony, structural irony, naive hero, stable, unstable, sarcasm, Socratic, dramatic, tragic, cosmic, romantic irony. These are the types of irony. Next, regarding metaphor, we have metaphorical theories. Next, meter. So it is applied to poetry. There are different types of meter like quantitative meter, syllabic meter, accentual and accentual syllabic meter, metrics, rhythm, stress, accents, verse, line, range the accent. This is a very important meter form. This has been in question for the UGC-NET exam. And food. Antenatal feet, here iambic feet, anapaestic feet, trochaic feet, catalectic feet, dactylic feet, spodaic feet, pyrrhic feet. These are the different types in poetry, especially feet analysis. Next, metric. Let's see what are the important metrics here. Monometer, diameter, trimeter, tetrameter, pentameter, hexameter, heptameter, 14er, octameter. These are the meters. Scan, scansion, feminine ending, masculine, end stopped, run on lines, enjambment. This is a very important concept. Enjambment. Caesura, this one also. Phrasal rhythms, performance, strong stress meter, accentual verse, sprung rhythm. Hopkins associated with this term sprung rhythm. We will discuss this topic in our next coming videos. And some sound system like onomatopoeia, echoism, paradox, oxymoron, prosody, versification, pun, playing the words, paranomasia, homonyms, evoke, satire. Let's see what are the different types of satire. Formal satire, adversarial satire, Horatian satire, Juvenalian satire, indirect satire, Menippean, Veronian anatomy of satire. So this is very important term. Symbol means emblem. Synesthesia. So let's see how this term is associated with poetry. Now, it is a final part, that is modern linguistics. So, what M.H. Abraham discussed in his book regarding linguistics, the terms. Let's see. Philology, diachronic, synchronic, stylistics and stylometer, new philology, parole and langue, competence and performance. Here, grammar, phonology, morphology, syntax and semantics, signifier and signified, phonetics and phonemes, dialects and difference, morpheme and phonetic intensives, sound symbolism. All these terms are associated with modern linguistics. So many questions have asked in this top on these topics: supersegmental, stress, juncture, intonation, pitch, rules, pragmatic, syntagmatic, transformative generative grammar. This term is recently associated. Please remember this term, transformative generative grammar. Noam Chomsky. Next, generative grammar, transformational, deep structure, surface structure. Grammar of narration, didactic, indexical, shifters, free indirect discourse. Here semiotics or semiology. So let's see what are the terms associated with this one. Signs, icon, index, symbol, sign proper. Next is styles, high style, middle style, low style, demotic style, hieratic style, periodic sentence, non-periodic, loose sentence, parietetic style, hypotoetic style, and stylistics, stylometry. Some independent terms are discussed in this book. So, like author and authorship, biography, hagiography, autobiography, memoir, diary, journal, and spiritual autobiography, conversion. Book like bibliography, papyrus, manuscripts, parchment. Please remember this one: parchment, vellum, codex, scriptoria, illuminated, palimpsest, incubula. Look at the word incunabula. There are different book editions, variarium editions. We have discussed already regarding Shakespeare editions, folio editions, and other. Book format, folio, quattro, octavo, duodecimo, recto, verso, colophon. Next, book history, study of books. Chronicles, history. An essay, we have different types: formal essay, like articles. Another one is informal essay. Then fine arts. Then folklore, like folk drama, mummer plays. Please remember this term, mummer play, folk songs, folk tale. Next, fairy tales and marchen. Grotesque, hypertext, fiction, cyberfiction, electronic literature, hyperink. This topic has been in recent question paper, so please remember and discuss in detail all these terms. Next, myth, mythology, rituals, legend, myth critics. Palindrome, pathos, ethos, pen name, nomen de plume, or surname of the, or some literary name for the writer. So this is very important. There should be a question on this one. Pen name. Platonic love, Neoplatonist. Fantastic literature, prose or prose poems. Sensibility of literature, in all genres of literature. Okay. Then seven deadly, since we see Dr. Faustus play by Christopher Marlowe, seven deadly sins, sloth, accident, seven cardinal virtues, seven cardinal virtues. Next, sociology of literature, utopian literature, dystopian literature. So these are all the terms we have discussed in M.H. Abraham's book. So whatever I have discussed with you, so these are the terms I have clearly discussed in M.H. Abraham books, but those terms are discussed in alphabetical manner. But for exam point of view, I have tried to convey you the terms according to genres that can make you very helpful. So the you can use, you can pause any page and you can note down, so that can be useful to understand. And I would like to announce that from for all those terms, I'm going to bring some important terms and some important groups and some other things in literary terms. I will bring the videos on all those terms. So please, for that, your motivation is very important to me. That's why please write and give me feedback in comment section. It can help me to bring more videos. And please don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends in your groups, and like and comment. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned in your study. Thank you.